Good afternoon, everybody. It's Teacher Romeo, and I hope you're all doing fine. So last week, I introduced you to Scratch, and Scratch is a programming tool where we can create simple games, simple programs, animations, as well as interactive stories. And also last week, I taught you how to use Scratch online and offline. So if you want to use Scratch online, then you need to have a browser as well as an internet connection, and then you need to go to the Scratch website, that is scratch.mit.edu. And for the offline version, you will need to download and install Scratch on your computer. I also gave you that link, the link for download last week. Okay, so we will have some quick review about the different parts of the Scratch interface. So let me share my screen to you. Okay, so when you open Scratch, by the way, the interface of Scratch online and offline are the same. Okay, so when you open Scratch, you will have you will see this, and then you will have here the button for changing the language. And I would like you to use the English language, since we are studying in a bilingual school and I am not Thai teacher, so I recommend that you use the English version of Scratch. Okay, but if in case you want to translate some of the codes here or blocks that you don't understand, then you can switch it to Thai language first and then go back to English. Okay, so that is how you can change the language, and also the file here, okay, where you can save your output on your computer, as well as open a file from your computer. And then also here we have this one, it's called Scratch Project, where this is the file name of your output. So you can change it here so that when you save your work, you will not need to change the name anymore. Okay, and also we have here the stage where you can see the output of your work. Okay, you can also minimize or maximize the stage and then also make it in full screen. And also we have here the sprites area where you can see all the sprites that you inserted on your program, and then you can use this button to choose a sprite and this one to choose a backdrop or a background. Okay, and for the codes, there are blocks that you can use for coding in Scratch or coding with Scratch. Okay, so we have here the motion blocks, which can be used to make the characters move or animate the characters. So you can use these blocks to make the characters move to a certain direction or go to a random position, as well as turn. Okay, you can also change the X value and the Y value of the position of the character on your program. And I taught you this one already, or I introduced you the functions last time. Okay, so I will not discuss any further. Also, we have here the looks blocks, okay, the purple blocks, which you can use to make the sprite say something. Okay, so last week we created a simple program that will find the sum of the two numbers, wherein the sprite will say, or the character will say the answer after we entered two numbers. Okay, also here you can switch costumes. Okay, but you can explore this one by yourself. Okay, and then other blocks here on the looks group. And then we also have the sound blocks. If you want to have sounds, or if you want to apply sounds on your sprites or characters, then you can use these blocks. And also we have the events, okay, which are very important. Event blocks are very important because it is used, or these blocks are used for functionalities. So for example, if you want to start your program, you need an event to start your program, just like this block, the when green flag is clicked block. But not only this one, you can start the program by using this block when space key pressed. Okay, so you can run your program by pressing the space bar and then other keyboard keys also. And then also you can start the program by clicking the sprite and using this block. Okay, so that is how event blocks work in Scratch. Okay, so these blocks are important because it is for the functionalities. Okay, and then also we have the control blocks. Here you can find the conditional blocks for your conditional statements if you are creating a simple program. So the most common block here is the if else block. Okay, so we can use this one if we have conditions or if we want to check if something is true or false. Okay, and we will use this block later when we do or when we make our program or our activity for today. Okay, and also we have here the forever loops, the repeat loop, and then other blocks. And you can explore these blocks by yourself. Okay, but I think for some of you, you know how to use some of these blocks already because I taught you this one when you were in grade 5 and grade 6. Okay, and also we have here the sensing block, okay, or blocks which can be used for keyboard keys, also for mouse. If you click your mouse, okay, you can have the mouse down block here. And also the most important one is the ask block that we used last time also. The ask block can be used if you want the user of the program or of your program to enter something or to input a number, such as last time. So when we add two numbers, we need two numbers. So we needed to ask the user to enter two numbers so that we can get the sum. Okay, and we used the ask block for that. Also, we have here the operator blocks. Okay, so here you can find the different operations or mathematical operations. So we have the addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And last time we already used the addition block here because our activity last time was about the finding the sum of two numbers. And also we have here for comparison, like greater than, less than, or equal. And then we also have the and or not blocks here, and also the join block if we want to combine variables as well as text. Okay, so if we combine those items in one line, then we need the join command. Okay, and also last week I introduced to you the variables. Okay, the variables are variables in programming are like a house of information where you can store data. So for example, if you want the user to enter something like input a number, then you can store that number into a variable so that you will be able to use that data later on. Okay, so it is important that you use variable, especially if you have user inputs, because it will help you retrieve your data later on. So you will not need to create another set of code for that, for entering or like entering that data again or something like that. Okay, so these blocks are very important. And also here we have my blocks where you can create your own set of blocks, I believe, but I haven't used this one yet because I'm just teaching you the basics of Scratch. So if you want to explore more about Scratch, then you can what do you call this one? You can just search videos on YouTube, okay, for tutorials. There are a lot of tutorials there that you can learn because we cannot tackle everything in our class since we have limited time and we only meet once a week. Okay, so these are the different blocks that we can use when we are creating a simple program or creating a simple game or even animations and interactive stories in Scratch. Okay, so do you have any questions? Okay, so since there are no more questions, we will proceed to our activity. Okay, so last week we created a simple program that will find the sum of two numbers, and the user of the program is required to enter two numbers, and then the program will calculate those two numbers to find the sum, and then the character will say the sum. Okay, so today we will create a simple program that will identify if a number is an odd or even number. So we created a flowchart about this one last time, and I hope you remember, because we can use this flowchart to make our program easily and quickly. Okay, so as a quick review, our numbers are 1, 2, sorry, not 1, 2, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, and so on and so forth. And even numbers are 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's start now with our activity. So I guess you're ready, right? Okay, so open your Scratch, everybody. And once you open your Scratch, I would like you to delete this sprite. Okay, and then I would like you to insert any backdrop that you like. Okay, just to make our program here more meaningful and attractive or beautiful, something like that. Okay, so please click this one to create or to select a backdrop. Okay, so in my case, I will choose, what do you think is the best backdrop for our lesson? Actually, any backdrop will do, because we will focus on the character, the character's functions here, or the code. Okay, so I think I will use a chalkboard. Okay, and then after that, we will choose a sprite or a character. Any character of your choice will do. Okay, you can have animals for that, or other characters. Anyway, we will just create a virtual assistant, okay, for this activity. Okay, so for me, I will choose Devin. These days, I like Devin so much. I don't know why. I like the sprite so much. Okay, and also students, you can change the size of your sprite, so you can make it bigger or smaller. If it is too small for you, then you can make it bigger. If it is too big for you, then you can make it smaller. But in default, it is 100. So if you want to make it smaller, then choose a lower number than 100. If you want to make it bigger, then choose a number greater than 100. Okay, so in this case, I think the size of Devin is enough. Okay, so that's it. So do you have your characters there and your backdrop? Okay, so we will proceed now to coding. Okay, so again, as what I have said earlier, so we will create a program that will identify if a number is an odd or even number. So of course, the first thing that we need to do is to have a code or block that can start our program. So again, where can you find that block? Which group? Okay, that's right. You can find it in the control. No, not control. It's events. Sorry. Okay, so we can find it in the events group. Okay, so you can use this one or this one as well as this one to start your program. So if you have another backdrop, okay, so you can use this one also. But we will try to use some of these blocks also in the future. Okay, so I think we will just stick to the default one. Okay, so this one, when green flag is clicked, because it will start your program when you click this one. Okay, but as what you have noticed, when you click go, the program doesn't do anything yet. It just starts the program because we don't have blocks here yet. Okay, so for example, we would like the virtual assistant or the character to introduce itself first. Okay, so how do we do that? We can do that by making the sprite or the character say something. And what block do we use to make the character say something? Okay, very good. You can find it in the looks block, and it is called the say block. Okay, so we have two say blocks here, but I believe I told you the difference of these two blocks last time. Okay, so this one has a time limit and this one has no time limit. Okay, so this one, we will use this one. Okay, so for example, you would like the character to introduce itself. So you can say, instead of hello, hello, you can say, hello, I'm your virtual assistant. Okay, I'm your virtual assistant. Okay, so when you run your program, your character or the character will say, hello, I am your virtual assistant. And you can change this one if you want to appear it longer on the screen. So for example, 3 seconds. Okay, so it will be longer. The higher the number, the longer it will be on the screen. Okay, so also students, for example, we would like the character to say, I'm here to help you identify if a number is an odd or even number. Okay, so to do that, you can have another say command, or if you want to make this one or to put this one here, it's okay also, but the bad thing is it will be very long. Okay, so instead of doing that, I think it would be better if you have another say command. Okay, so after 3 seconds, if you add another say command, then it will appear. Okay, once this is done, this one will perform. Okay, so let's say I'm here to help you identify if a number is an odd or even number. Okay, so you can do this one. Okay, so let me check my spelling if it is correct. Okay, I'm here to help you identify if a number is an odd or even number. Okay, and then you can change 2 seconds to 3, 4, 5 seconds, whatever you want. Okay, so for me, just 3 seconds. Okay, so when you click run or click go, your character will say, hello, I'm your virtual assistant. I'm here to help you identify if a number is an odd or even number. Okay, so this is just an introduction, students. Actually, this one is optional. Okay, you can add other introduction if you want. You can ask the user's name if you want. Okay, so I will leave that up to you. Okay, so now let's proceed to the next block for this program. Okay, so in order for the program to identify if a number is an odd or even number, first, we need to ask the user, or we need to make the character ask the user to input any number. And then after that, we can check if the number is an odd or even number. So in order for us or for the character to ask the user to input a number, we can go to sensing and use the ask block. Okay, so you can drag it here. Okay, and then instead of what's your name, of course, you need to change the question. Okay, so you can say, so what's the number? What's the number? Okay, so when you click on go, it will be like this. Okay, so after saying this one or saying the introduction, the character will ask the user to enter a number. And then the character or the user needs to type the number. Okay, so in this case, the user can now type the number. Okay, for example, 25 and then press enter. But the problem here is we need to make a variable so that we can store the number. Although the number is already stored here. Okay, so as what you can see, it's here. Okay, but again, students, as what I have said earlier, it's better to make a variable where you can store the data so that it will be easier for you to retrieve it later. Because, for example, if you have another ask, and then the user will enter another number, this 25 will be erased and it will change to the newest one or to the newer one or to the new one. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so we need to create a variable and we need to go to the variables group to do that. Okay, so we need to click make a variable, and then after that we can have any variable name, but I would advise that you should choose a variable name that is related to the data that is being that the user is inputting. Okay, so in this case, just maybe number. Okay, so we can have the number variable name. Okay, actually, I like it to be in all capital letters so that it will be, it's like, it will be more emphasized when I use it on my program. Okay, but you can use small letters also. Okay, and then choose for all sprites and then click on OK. And then after that, as what you can see, there will be something here, okay, just like last week on what we did with our activity. Okay, so the variable is here and you can, or you may choose to hide or show that one. But if you are testing your program, of course, you need to choose this one so that, to show this one so that you will be able to know if your program is working properly. Okay, and to store data, okay, all we need to do is to use the set block. And then instead of my variable here, you need to choose the variable that you have created for that data. Okay, so in this case, we will choose number. Okay, and then after that, to 0, you need to change this 0. So you will need to get the answer from this one, from the ask block, and then put it here. So in that case, you need to go back to sensing, and then after that, get the answer block, okay, and then drag it over here. Okay, and then when you run the program, okay, so the character will say the introduction, and then it will ask you to enter a number. And then when the user entered a number, like for example 2, then that number will be stored in the variable number. Okay, so I hope that's clear. Okay, so let's proceed now to the next set of codes for our program. So now, since we have the number, we can now identify if the number is an odd or even number. And in order to do that, students, we need to use a conditional statement. So in this case, we need to go to control and then use the if, then, else block. Okay, so again, if then else block is used for conditional statements or to check if something is true or false. So usually when you have a conditional statement in programming, if is true, okay, if is true and then else is false. So if true, do this one, and if false, do this one. Okay, and then you need to have your condition here. The condition depends on what your program requires. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so we have now the if then else block. So here we need to have a condition. Okay, so we need to go to operators and then we need to choose the equal block and then put it inside of the if block. Okay, so this one. Okay, and also students, if you want to know or to identify if a number is an odd or even number, you can use the modulo operator. So in programming, the modulo operator is like percent. Okay, so it is the percent operator like this one. Okay, it is similar to division, but it will give you a different answer. Okay, so we will use this block to identify if a number is an odd or even number. Because if we want to identify if a number is an odd or even number, we need to divide it by 2, right? So if the remainder is equal to 0, then it is an even number. If there is a remainder, then it is an odd number. Okay, so what does modulo operator do? The modulo operator gives you the remainder as an answer. So for example, when you divide 15 divided by 4. Okay, so let's say 15 divided by 4. Or I will change this one to 17. Okay, 17, so that you will see the difference later. Okay, 17 divided by 4, let's say. Okay, so when you divide 17 divided by 4, the basic division, it will be 4 remainder 1. Because 4 times 4 is equal to 16, right? So there is a remainder 1. So when you do or when you use modulo operator for this, for example, 17 mod 4. Okay, so instead of 4, it will give you the remainder. So since we have remainder 1 here, so it will give you the answer 1. So modulo operator gives you the remainder as the answer. It's same as division, but it will give you the remainder as an answer. Okay, not really the answer. Okay, so that's what modulo operator does in programming. Okay, so let's proceed, students. So we need to put the or drag the mod operator here. Okay, so we have the condition if blank mod blank is equal to 50, then okay, so here in this case we will mod the number by 2. Okay, so we can put the number variable here. If number mod 2 is equal to 0, okay, meaning if there is no remainder, so that means the number is an even number. So in this case, we can make the character say something. Okay? And just like what we did last time, to make the sentence longer and to combine variables with text, you need to use the join command. Okay, so in this case, we need one join command, I think, at least. Okay, so we can say number is, okay, so is, don't forget the space, is an even number. Okay, so it's up to you how many seconds you want it to appear on the screen. Okay, you can make it longer if you want, but for me, for 3 seconds only. Else, if a number is not an even number, of course, it is an odd number. Okay, so you can duplicate this one. Okay, duplicate, right click duplicate, or if you are using an iPad, tap and hold and then tap duplicate and then put it here. So instead, number is an even number, you can change this one to add odd number. Sorry. Okay, odd number. And when you run your program, okay, so it will be like this. The character will say the introduction and then it will ask the user to enter a number. So for example, 9. Okay, so we all know that 9 is an odd number. So in this case, the character must say that 9 is an odd number. Okay, so it says 9 is an odd number. So let's try now to enter an even number. So we need to run the program again. And then after that, let's see if it works properly. Okay, so for example, 8. We all know that 8 is an even number. So the character should say 8 is an even number. Okay, so there you have it, students. So this is the set of blocks that we have for today. Again, for this one, the purpose of when go is clicked, of course, to start your program, and then the say blocks here is used if you want the character to say something like an introduction or to say something, anything. Okay, and then we also have here the ask block that is used so that the character can ask the user for input, any input like a number, a name, or others, or other input that you like. And then we also have here the variable set. Okay, set number variable, okay, that can be used if you want to store data for a certain variable or into a certain variable. So in this case, we have the number variable here. So we store the user input into the number variable. And also we have here the if then else block that is used for conditional statement and for checking if the number that the user type is an odd or even number. Okay, so we have here the comparison also. Okay, so we have here for our condition, if number mod 2 is equal to 0, then the character will say it is an even number, or that number is an even number, and then if it is not equal to 0, then the character will say that the number is an odd number. Okay, so in next meeting, students, we will make this code longer because we will have loops on this one. So meaning after you test one number, the program will ask you if you want to try another number or if you want to exit the program. Okay, so we will do that one next week. Okay, so I hope you learned something from our lessons today. So please do not forget to save your file and send the output to me. Okay, you need to save this one because we will use this file next week, because we will improve this one and we will add more to it. Okay. So that's all for today, students. I hope you learned something new, and stay safe and stay at home. Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day.